Phyllis's next guest, Debra Poneman, is an international sensation. No, not a rock star, but a passionate humanitarian who works hands-on with the causes she supports. She's a celebrated and award-winning success expert and is a dedicated teacher helping people to improve the quality of their lives. You are watching CNJN with host Phyllis Haynes.
You've taken on a topic that others would say, wow, there's a lot of books on this topic. There's a lot of videos and CDs, but you are recognized for your work internationally in the area of helping people reach success. So you've got a company called Yes to Success. What makes you attracted to this topic? And what makes you different?
Oh, that is a question that I've never been asked before, and I am so happy to answer it. And I am not even sure that I'm that different from many people who teach success. But what I will say is that I think that we've come to the point in the world that everyone knows that success is not about having the biggest house and the best car. I think we've come to a point in creation that people have seen enough of the people who have everything and it does not fill them up. They have the beautiful house on the hill. They walk into it. It's like one of those Hollywood movie sets. It's just empty on the other side. It doesn't take away the emptiness inside. So from the beginning, when I started Yes to Success in 1980, 42 years ago, I've always taught that success is an inside-out job. Because if you learn how to create inner success, inner silence, inner happiness, then when you walk through the doors of your new house, then it's a joy. Then you have a lot of fun decorating it. But until you do the inner work, I just want people to know that they should stop striving for the next shiny object, because I promise you it will not bring you the success or the happiness that you desire. But there are ways that you can have that. And then once you have the inner success also, you will find it so much easier to manifest the outer success, because there's not so much neediness. There's not so much, pulling and striving. You can relax because you're already successful on the inside. And then whether your book becomes a New York Times bestseller or it doesn't, it's okay, because you learned what you needed to learn along the way. You established the relationships that are bringing you happiness along the way. And you know what to do next time if you still want that #1 bestseller. So that saying, success is a journey, it's not a destination. It really is a journey. And it's really important to enjoy that journey, because the truth is, you don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow morning. So you don't know if you're ever going to reach that goal. So you might as well enjoy every day.
Well, that ends our interview right now. That's good. That's all we need. No, seriously though, it sounds to me from your answer that the journey for inner success is much more challenging than the journey for the outer success. That in some ways it requires more work. And one other thing just about that, you've worked internationally. So how does your message read on this point where so many people are hungry for the American dream?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something. I'll just share a couple I would say they're not rules, but suggestions as to how everybody can create success. Because my story is, and I'll give you the Cliff's Notes version, I became a teacher of transcendental meditation, and I taught TM throughout the decade of the 70s, and I was an administrator at Maharishi International University. And when I wasn't working for the TM movement, I was with Maharishi, just studying how to create inner silence and teaching meditation to thousands. But at the end of the decade of the 70s, I came to the conclusion that woman does not live by mantra alone. And I needed to make, have things that grownups have. I was pushing the big 3-0 and I thought, I better get some health insurance. I better get some car insurance, or at least a car to insure. So I thought to myself, okay, how do people make a lot of money? Because I wanted to make a lot of money fast and go back to teaching meditation. And I thought, you know what they do? They move to LA and they sell investments. And because, in the movies, it looked like everybody in LA was wealthy. So I was living in a meditation community in Fairfield, Iowa. I moved to LA. I started selling investments. I was pretty much a dismal failure. In other words, although there's no such thing as failure, it's just learning ways not to do it next time. But I didn't sell one investment except to my father, who felt sorry for me. However, that expression, we make plans and God laughs. Well, God had a big yuck over me thinking I was going to make a lot of money moving to LA. And the creator, the God of your understanding, had different plans for me. One night I'm in LA, somebody invites me to an event at the Learning Annex, and the guy was talking about the law of attraction. I'd never heard this before. It was 1980, decades before The Secret made this kind of a household concept. And he was saying that we are like tuning forks, and however we vibrate, a tuning fork that's vibrating at an F sharp cannot attract to itself a B flat. It repels the B flat. Can only attract an F sharp. And he said, if we are vibrating with poverty thoughts, if we are vibrating with, I'll never be successful, my parents weren't successful, those people in Beverly Hills are all crooks, all of these things that people say about wealth and outer success, you will never vibrate it to yourself. Even you want a soulmate, but you say, oh, I'm too old, nobody wants me, I've been divorced so many times, I'm a loser, I'm not good at relationships. You're repelling. That's what you're vibrating. You're repelling any glorious relationship that wants to be attracted to you. You're the F sharp, it's the B flat. So what you want to do is you want to start talking about the glorious life that is ahead for you, the wonderful relationship that is ahead for you, the financial abundance that is ahead for you. So I go to this presentation at the Learning Annex, and every cell in my body is vibrating, and I realize that's why I came to LA. I'm going to teach what this guy is teaching. And what I did is I started studying the great masters of success and prosperity, like Napoleon Hill and Florence Scovel Shinn and Wallace Wattles. And I put together, I called the company Yes to Success. And I used 3 principles that allowed me to become pretty much successful overnight. One is, I learned these from the great masters. One is, an idea comes to you because it needs to be manifested through you. That the God of your understanding needs something manifested on the planet at this time, whispers that idea in your ear. That's why we all have different ideas, right? You have the idea to do the show. I have the idea to teach success. Somebody else has the idea to become a chiropractor. Somebody else to grow orchids and write a book on it. So the God of your understanding needs that manifested on the planet at the time, kind of looks down to see a worthy vehicle who will go ahead and take the steps to bring it into reality. And that's why we have ideas, because they're needed at that time. And so many of your listeners, I'm sure, have had the experience of having an incredible idea, not taking steps to manifest it. A few years later, somebody else did. And they became millionaires, or they became famous, or they became household names with your idea. So number one, an idea comes to you because it's yours and it needs to be manifested. And then the second is, what is sacred needs to be kept secret. And that means that when you have an idea, don't go around telling everybody what you're going to do. Not because I think they're going to steal your idea. I don't believe that. I believe there could be thousands of people teaching success, thousands of people giving talks on leadership, thousands of people becoming acupuncturists. But When you tell everybody what you're going to do, you use all the energy up in the telling. And the other thing that you run the risk of is running up against the discouragement committee. And you know who they are, those people,
Oh, yes.
right, Phyllis? The discouragement committee. They're going to tell you all the reasons why your idea is not going to work. So the tiny seed of your idea is crushed before it even has a chance to blossom. So be careful with who you share your cherished ideas. What is sacred, and your idea is sacred, needs to be kept secret. Just yourself. Don't say, oh, well, my mother never is in the discouragement committee. Be careful. And then when you do the next point, and that is take a step from which there's no turning back, at that point, you can go ahead and tell people, because if the discouragement committee shows up, sorry. I mean, what I did, hey, I was 29 years old. I hadn't done anything in my life except teach meditation and sell one investment to my father. And I was going to teach seminars on how to be successful. But that idea was whispered into my ear after I went to that event at the Learning Annex. So I knew it was mine. I didn't tell anybody what I was going to do. For 6 months, I put this thing together. And my friends are, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then I took a step from which there is no turning back. I rented a room at the Santa Monica Public Library, put up posters, because that's what we did in 1980, 1981. And then the discouragement committee did show up and say, really, your mind creates your reality? A talk on I don't think so. But I had taken that step from which there's no turning back. So maybe you're writing a book. Maybe your step is to ask somebody to write your introduction, ask people to give you an endorsement. Whatever it is, your step from which there's no turning back, take it. And that also gives you the momentum. And if you go in the wrong direction, which is okay too, because then you can course correct, but you can't steer a parked car. You got to get it out of the driveway.
Can't steer a parked car. So now let me ask you one other thing that I think leads people right to your business, yes, to success. I would think that I would add one other component to the 3 things you mentioned, which show up in Napoleon Hill and other such books. And that is the importance of surrounding yourself with people who can lead you or can guide you, or at least immerse you in what you're after. So I gather people can study with you and learn from you. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely. I've been teaching my first Yes to Success. I taught in 1981, and I still teach Yes to Success today. And as you know, some of our dear friends were my teachers, my students in the 1980s. I mean, not to name drop, but I think it's so precious. Our friend Marcy Scheimoff, she was my personal assistant. Did you know that?
Well, I know that she gives you a big endorsement, and many other people like Jack Canfield also endorse your work.
Yeah.
What I want to know from you is, what's it like to work with you, and what are people's biggest obstacles in learning? Where do you find the biggest pushback?
Well, I think the people's biggest obstacle is comparing themselves to other people, thinking that they have to be like Marcy, or they have to be like me, or they have to be like you in order to be successful. You don't have to. You just have to follow your bliss. And for some people, following your bliss is leading a company to millions. For some, it's creating music like your amazing daughter, right? Or for some, it's going, becoming a ski instructor, or, speaking on creating equity in the workplace. See, my bliss is helping people understand the mechanics of living true success, which starts with success on the inside. But the most important thing is, don't try to be like me. Go inside and ask yourself what makes you happy. And when you figure out what makes you happy, that's the direction that you want to go in. Phyllis, I was not born into a wealthy family, but my parents were the kindest people I know. And people say, well, how did you have the idea to teach the success seminar? Well, you know, because I just told the story. But my parents were my role models because they just went quietly about their business. They never tooted their own horns. And at my father's memorial, person after person stood up and shared acts of kindness my father did that none of us knew about. One man stood up and said, we were customers of your dad. My dad owned an old-fashioned corner drugstore and we lived above it in Chicago. And they said, this guy said, my daughter lost all of her hair when she was 10 years old and we couldn't afford a wig. She was wearing a $10 wig and we came into your dad's store and he took a look at her and he bought her the best wig that money could buy, and it completely changed her life. And somebody else said there was a kid who I knew, an adult who was a well-known restaurant owner in our neighborhood, and he shows up and he tells a story that he had been incarcerated as a teen, and when he came out, nobody wanted to give him a job, but my father gave him a job, and my father told him that he could be great one day, and he believed in him, and because of he wanted to prove to my father that hiring him was the right thing. He went ahead and he worked and he became one of the most successful business owners in the community. And the reason why I share that is that you don't have to be on the cover of Time magazine. For my father, it was just doing those random acts of kindness, and he was one of the happiest people I know. That's success. He died with a smile on his face. So what makes you happy? And also, if people want to contribute to a world that works, also do what makes you happy, because when you are happy, it spreads that vibration of happiness, and the world needs a vibration of happiness right now. So if it's dancing, if it's singing, if it's, giving massages, whatever it is, do it. Don't try to be, you were born to be you. Precious, wonderful, unique you, and the world needs the gift that you were born to give it.
And you really practice what you preach. You have charities that you're devoted to. Let's take the first and most important one, which is what your son has created. So talk about your son and his charitable work.
Yeah, and it's interesting because my son's charitable work goes along with another principle of success. If people don't know what makes them happy, think about what made you happy as a child. And my son, from the time he was like a tiny little guy, he loved basketball. His whole life was basketball, small fry team. And, and when he stopped growing, when he was 5'10", he knew he wasn't going to make it into the NBA. But I'll tell you something, I was never the discouragement committee. He wanted a life with basketball in it. I said, you can create a life with basketball in it. And when he was 15, he founded a nonprofit where he started putting on basketball showcases for kids on the south and west sides of Chicago. And his basketball showcases, he started a nonprofit called Shot in the Dark Foundation, shotinthedarkfoundation.org. And to date, he has generated over $60 million in college scholarships for the kids in the south and west sides of Chicago. And he's still in the world of basketball. He's not in the NBA, but he is on that court helping these kids to get scholarships.
Yeah, the Shot in the Dark Foundation, many of you know I work in basketball. I'm an NBA agent, but I've worked for the last 15 years with high school and college basketball players here in Chicago. Mission of Shot in the Dark Foundation is simple: help basketball players use basketball to get college scholarships. A lot of times when guys are future NBA players or future pros, there's a lot of people who are there to help them. But then when guys just need a scholarship to guys or girls to a junior college or a Division III school or a small college, they don't have any resources, no one to help them apply or connect them to the school or get them exposure or tell college coaches about them. So we conceived this 15 years ago. We run free camps and showcases for college coaches to come watch our athletes. And in the last 15 years, we've had thousands and thousands of players come through. And I think over like 700 players we've helped get college scholarships. to come out of Chicago. So $100 donation sponsors a player to play in the event and gives him a chance to potentially get his college scholarship worth $100,000. So the speaker we have today is Charlie Harris. Do we find Charlie? Oh, there he goes. Yeah, there's Charlie. So Charlie is a young man from Chicago, west side of Chicago, and his senior season got canceled last year due to COVID. He only was able to play 3 games. So no colleges knew about him. So he had given up on going to college, but he came to our camp and was one of the star players. He was incredible. He scored a bunch of points and was great on defense and got 5 college offers that day and ended up committing to Western Wyoming Junior College, which is where he's at right now.
A young guy like me, because there's a lot of things going on in Chicago right now. Some people probably just going through it right now. I can say right now, I'm a father of 1. So I basically just did this, went to college for my daughter. I want to thank Daniel and the Undiscovered Showcase people that run it for giving me the opportunity to get an offer and have a better chance to and a better life for me and my daughter.
Now, you also support some other, what I would call not so well-known charities. I mean, we all love the Red Cross and Doctors Without Borders, and those are my charities, among others. But you've got 4 we might not have heard of, but need to hear of. So let's talk about them.
I love Doctors Without Borders, by the way. That's one of my favorites too. But I actually work closely with a couple boutique nonprofits, and one is Aid Still Required. And, Phyllis, sometimes these bigger organizations, they go into places, for example, like Haiti, after an earthquake, after a hurricane, and they help with the immediate need. But our organization is called Aid Still Required. After, the cameras stop rolling, after the eyes of the world are on the Haiti earthquake, we go in and we rebuild. We have built 6 schools in Haiti. We have helped women with microloans. We have rescued orphans who were orphaned from the earthquake in Haiti, and organizations in the US with all good intentions were giving money to organizations in Haiti. And we found these kids starving, naked in the basement of this place because people weren't watching. We have people on the ground in Haiti. We know where every single dollar goes. We go every year. We haven't gone the last 2 years, which makes me sad because I miss my people there. But we have people who we trust. We're in touch with them all the time. So we rescued those orphans. We reunited them with their families because they were what's called economic orphans. We help the parents get on their feet, start businesses. We give them housing, because what we're all about is not giving a handout, but a hand up. These people in Haiti are brilliant and they're hardworking, and they don't want charity. They want a vehicle for them to provide for themselves and their own families. And that's what we do in Aid Still Required. I get a little enthusiastic because I've been on the board of Aid Still Required for almost 10 years. I've been down to Haiti many times. I love Haitian people. They are strong. They are proud. They never ask for a handout. All these people want is opportunity. Oh, and another one that I work with is called Be Someone, and that's down in Atlanta. And my dear friend, Orrin Hudson, what he does is he teaches kids, like in the inner city, how to play the game of life through teaching them how to play chess. And he teaches them how to strategically plan their life and not just, and not get into gangs and not be drawn to the violence, but to learn how to strategically structure their life like it's a game of chess, and be careful what your next move is. And I love him, and I love his organization, besomeone.org.
Thank you, Deborah. Deborah is the real deal. I remember her son called me and said, listen, I'm sending you money. I said, why? He said, my mom told me she don't want nothing for her birthday. Send it to Orrin. So thank you for that. I'm on a mission to train 1 million children. I've trained about 88,000. And my main message is brains before bullets. The only way to fight is to use your use your head. And so I'm teaching young people how to get their head in the game and how to make good decisions.
And one other organization that I work with is the Communiversity of South Africa. And I actually teach in it via Zoom. I teach the kids in the townships in South Africa how to create successful lives. And they are some of my favorite, most receptive students. And the Communiversity helps kids that have gone to our equivalent of high school, but then have gotten caught up again in gangs and kind of things that are just inevitable when you don't have opportunity.
Come and take a look at the community that's surrounding Communiversity, this campus. There's so much help needed. I think that Communiversity is the first campus that actually made a change.
But it gives these kids the opportunity to prepare so that they can go on to college and they can have a good life. And like I say, yes to success is part of that. I have gone there.
I'm going to interrupt you now, because I think anybody listening to you would say, okay, she must be a nun now. She must not have a normal life. So what's your secret to keeping your life together and doing all of these things that you do? What's your secret?
My secret is don't waste time. Time is so precious, and there's so much that needs to be done for the world right now. And again, here's the thing. I mean, for somebody, not everybody has to go and take on a zillion nonprofits. But what you do have to do at every moment are things that you can do to uplift the world. Like, for example, treat everybody as the most important person in the world. Okay. Sometimes what we do is we have somebody standing in front of us, or we're speaking to somebody and pouring out our heart, and they're looking around the room to see if there's somebody more important. Don't ever do that to anybody, because the person standing in front of you is a piece of God on earth. And when you treat them with love, when you treat them with respect, when you listen to them, you don't know who they are. My kid's babysitter now owns one of the largest and most successful event production companies in the country. Who do you think she calls on to be speakers? I mean, Mary Kay is one of her clients. APEC is one of her clients. Audi is one of her clients. Geico, right? Did I know? She was just a babysitter, but I treated her as the most important person in the world because she
Okay, but I'm going to ask you again, because you did. It's a brilliant answer. How do you treat yourself as the most important person in the world?
Well, as you may or may not know, I also am a meditation teacher in my spare time, and I do teach meditation. I do a long meditation program every day, at least an hour. I eat incredibly healthfully, because you need to not eat junky foods if you want the rest and you want the vitality. I also teach another course beside Yes to Success, which is called Ageless, which is anti-aging for your brain, your body, and your future. We were talking how I just reached the big 7-0, and I know how to remain. This is really me, and I know how to have energy. And by teaching people the same things that I teach in Ageless, you can use at any age to have health, to have vitality, give yourself good sleep. It matters what time you go to sleep. Go to bed early, like 10 o'clock, because that's peak HGH, human growth hormone production hours. So I'll do all those things. And the thing that makes me the happiest, that brings me the most joy besides my work, is being with my children and my godchildren and my adopted son's two boys, one was just born a week ago, and that gives me energy. And so do what you love, do what makes you happy. Whatever makes you happy will give you energy, and then you have to prioritize. You have to prioritize. Is what you're doing contributing to a planet that works? If it's not, you might want to choose something else.
That is a perfect note to end on, Debra. You are phenomenal.